Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Tuesday. All of today's guests, including Kevin Woodley, standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Book your stay at the Bayside and enjoy the many amenities the hotel has to offer, such as oceanfront rooms, free parking, oceanfront restaurant, cafe, indoor and outdoor swimming pools, gym, and more. Call 250-248-8333 or go to their website, BaysideResortParksville.com. Canucks with Thatcher Demko back in goal, hosting Calgary tonight, game 81 for both teams. We're joined now by Kevin Woodley from NHL.com and InGoal Magazine. Kevin, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
Pleasure is mine. I didn't know you guys were all set up at the Bayside in Parksville. I've stayed there before. It's excellent. Fantastic.
Oh, lovely.
Don't get any ideas, Kevin. We get first dibs, okay, when it comes to Bayside.
I know. I'm just still waiting for Rick to take me golfing.
This summer.
I've heard that for 3 summers.
Yeah. Maybe in Parksville, Kevin.
Yeah.
There we go.
What can we expect from Thatcher Demko tonight? First game since March 9th.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big question, right? Like, what's this going to look like? And I'll be honest, I've watched practice since he got back on the ice here in Vancouver, and he's just, for lack of a better term, he's flying out there. Some people ask me, what are you looking for when a goalie comes back from injury? Is it saves he makes in practice? I don't really even care about the puck, to be honest with you. It's about the way he's moving around the crease, hitting his post, in and out of his post, movements that have a fairly high degree of difficulty. One skate on each post as the puck goes behind the net, what they call a reverse track, what a lot of people call a double seal. And he's just he's into those with power, pace, precision, and doesn't appear to be any limitation. So physically, I'm not worried about Thatcher Demko. Technically, I'm not worried about Thatcher Demko. It's just a matter of getting the game reps. As he said to us yesterday when I asked, biggest thing is there's 10 bodies flying around there, and you have to find that little black puck. So that takes a little bit of time, and that's what if there is any rust, that's what they're going to try to knock off in these next couple of games.
Okay, Kevin, forget about the on-ice stuff. Late last week, Thatcher Demko, short, kind of grumpy with the media, our brethren. What do you read into that?
Oh, you know what? Actually, one of the questions was one that I asked, and he was curt in his response because obviously he came back last year from missing some time, and he was really good down the stretch. And so I think the idea of my question was that, hey, you've done this before. And, the way he heard it, and it's fair, was that, hey, you've been injured before. And there is a bit of a narrative about getting through a season healthy as a number one. I think when you dig into the injury last year, it was directly related to the injury the year before when they played the wheels off him and it required off-season surgery. There was a compensatory pattern in his movement that never really got addressed or fixed, and he basically played his way into getting hurt last season. So I think that's all it was, to be honest with you, Donnie. He came after the scrum and apologized to me for being curt. So
you were the problem. You were the problem.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest. If you're a goaltender in this city, wouldn't you be asking for more money just to have to deal with me on a day? Imagine this on a daily basis.
We're asking for a raise from Czech after this interview, as a matter of fact.
I would.
He's not the first goalie in this market to get cranky with the media. It happens all the time. Hey, is 2 games enough this week, or is it one? Winnipeg, what's going on? What does he need, in your eyes, Kevin? Both games this week, or one to be 100% in the zone for the playoffs?
I mean, if he comes out tonight and feels like he's tracking the puck perfectly, finding pucks through bodies, making his reads, then I suppose, maybe he doesn't play Winnipeg. Without any information, my assumption was always he would play both.
Yeah.
And I guess what could change is if there's nothing to play for and you're going to leave regulars at home, then do you run the risk of the game in Winnipeg being one where, as a goalie, you're trying to get your reads back and you're trying to get up to NHL speed? Well, what if it's a game of shinny? If it turns into that, are you best not having him behind it? Because those aren't the same reads you're making, right? Everything is different. So maybe that could change, but my assumption was always, too, that the thing I sort of point to is what a starting goaltender goes through in the offseason getting ready for a regular season, right? Like they work with the goalie coach, as Thatcher has been doing for the last couple of weeks. They get their skating and they get their movement in, and then they play sometimes 2.5 games in the preseason, and they're ready to start the regular season. Thatcher Demko was the best goalie in the NHL by a wide margin, lapped the field the first 6 weeks of the regular season. So that's what you're hoping for after, I would think, a couple of games to sort of get back up to game speed and finding those pucks through traffic. Freddie Anderson, been the best goalie in the league for the last 5 or 6 weeks, coming off an injury that was a lot longer. Like, there is value to rest, and I don't think you need too much to get back up to speed. My assumption is 2, but if it's 1, it's probably for the right reasons because he feels so good after 1, and maybe if things don't look like a normal NHL game, or they're not sure to look like a normal NHL game on Thursday in Winnipeg, they pull back the reins.
Boy, they needed a massive game from Casey DeSmith in Edmonton, and they got it, Kevin. He was really good.
Yeah, he was excellent, and in tough circumstances, right? And so that's where the veteran presence comes, right? That's where the value in having a veteran that knows. I had a long chat with him yesterday that sort of knows, how to pull the reins in. We've talked about this before, like goaltending and golf, Rick. Like I know you can walk up to the first tee and absolutely swing out of your butt and just crank it right down the middle, but most of us can't. For most of us, trying harder is not a good recipe, and it's the same thing with goaltending. You really have to let the game come to you. He felt like after the Vegas game, where frankly nobody was good, odd man rushes galore, that he tried a little too hard and tried to force things against LA. Took a step back, worked his ass off in practice in Clark, and talked to some people around him, his agent, his wife, other people that he's trusted in the past about the mental side of things, a sports psychologist, and just sort of got back to letting it come to him in Edmonton. And in a big moment, to be able to do that, like, it says a lot about the mental strength. And so I thought Casey, that was a big moment for him. You saw how strong that relationship has become with him and Thatcher, and sort of the video after the game when Casey's walking to the locker room and Thatcher gives him a big hug. And, that, as much as anything, gives me pause to wonder if he, this might not be the last we see of Casey DeSmith, if there is a chance he comes back last year, in part because of that relationship.
You keep bringing up golf, Kevin. Rick gets the idea. He owes you a round. Arturs Silovs, you just talked about Casey DeSmith. What did Arturs Silovs show you in Demko's absence?
Yeah, I mean, moments of good. I thought, you talk about trying too hard and sort of getting a little, I'm looking for the right word because I'm not sure I can use the right word, frankly, on TV. He gets a little too antsy, like just sort of wants it to come to him, like he just like aggressive, dig the edges in, get a little tense. That's been the problem in the American League this year. That was sort of one of his struggles, to let the game come to him and sort of play a more relaxed style. I thought he was really good at it last year when he came up to the NHL, and we saw signs of him this year, like enough signs that you're seeing a progression. It hasn't been the year that he wanted for himself, in the American League. I think that it's human nature when you think maybe you're ready for something else, for another step, and you end up having to take a step back to struggle a little bit with it. But I mean, I see a goalie who I still see NHL upside in, whether that'll be next year or whether they use waivers and move them back and forth, whether they re-sign a Casey or find someone with NHL experience they think they can get down to the American League and give Arturs the job. Like, there's an NHL goalie there, and I think we saw the signs, some of the big moments, some of the lateral saves. It's just a matter of getting a little more experience so he can be comfortable with, not being too... The phrase James Reimer always uses is horny. You're just a little too, I got to go get it. Give me the puck. You got to sit back and let it come to you.
Okay. We'll bleep that out. You're on the edge today, Kevin.
Out.
On the edge. Hey, right now, the Canucks are matched up against Nashville. Can you see Saros steal a series?
He's certainly capable. He's been one of the best goalies for the last 3 years in the NHL. But interestingly enough, guys, statistically, this hasn't been a great year for him. His adjusted numbers are just barely above expected. He should have absolutely been a Vezina Trophy finalist last year. And despite some lofty win totals and getting the Predators in the playoffs this year, I wouldn't have that same conversation. Interestingly enough, if it ends up being UC, I'm curious to see, like, some of the numbers I see where he hasn't had the kind of season we expect from him are things like layered screens. Statistically, that's an area that he struggled with, broken plays. guess what? The Vancouver Canucks are very good at creating as an offense. We've heard all year about getting to the net, taking eyes away. Like, those are things the Canucks do well, creating traffic, creating, as Tocchet calls them, levels of screens as opposed to layers. And that's an area where, in a year where the numbers haven't been kind to UC overall, that's an area where he struggled particularly. And so you start to wonder, I mean, who knows? But you start to wonder if matchup-wise, that might be an advantage somewhat to the Vancouver Canucks.
Above and beyond, Kevin, it's going to be fun. Canucks in the playoffs, a couple games to go in the regular season, in the playoffs next week. Thanks so much for this.
Thanks, guys.
You bet.